Mark. Some people believe that everything that happens happens for a reason. I guess these people believe it is fate, God's will, karma, kismet, or whatever else that determines events. I'm inclined to believe that this is just an accident, both good and bad. Of course, we can influence things through our actions or inactions, but basically, I think shit happens, whether we want it to or not. My wife Amy and I planned a trip to the beach resort of Sea Island, Georgia. We bought tickets and reserved a table. We invited her older sister Sherry to come along with her two children. Sherry is divorced, with children the same age as our two, 7 and 9 years old. We often do things together because all the children get along well. I told Sherry that I would give her this vacation in hopes that she would take care of the kids for a few evenings so that my wife and I could go on an adult outing. She enthusiastically agreed and joked with Amy about her little sister needing to get her feet in the air. We planned to travel together in our large SUV. It was about 6 hours to the beach, and I thought it would be fine for the seven of us to spend that time in the car. We booked two adjoining rooms with two queen beds in each room. Our stay was to last 10 nights. 2 weeks before we left, Amy was called into the big boss's office and told she had to go to Jacksonville for a meeting with a client that the boss couldn't attend. She was expected to attend several public events Saturday night and Sunday afternoon before holding an extended contract meeting and negotiations on Monday. If all goes well, she could come to Sea Island and join us on Tuesday or Wednesday at this latest. Needless to say, I was unhappy traveling with Sherry and 4 kids, but I couldn't think of any other way to cope with the circumstances. This meant that Amy would not be with us on Friday night, Saturday, Sunday, Monday, and possibly Tuesday. Her company paid to fly her to Jacksonville on Friday afternoon and provide her with a rental car that she could leave in Sea Island when she joined us. Not the best start to a long-awaited family vacation. Shit happens. Mark? Dear, I'm so sorry this happened. I was looking forward to spending some adult time with my husband, said an exhausted Amy, snuggling close to me. It was Thursday evening, and it had been a hectic week trying to get all the baby stuff ready for the trip. Amy worked late into the night, preparing for her important assignment. Now the two of us lay in bed, too exhausted to even think about romance. It's okay. We'll have a week together on Sea Island. I'm horny, but I'm too tired to do anything about it. Me too. I was thinking about you this morning and I got all wet, but now I can hardly keep my eyes open, Amy said, yawning widely. Now, the flight was exactly what I wanted, fast and without incident. I rented a car and got to my hotel before 6 in law. After tidying up my room a little, I called Mark. The call did not last long as the house was in complete chaos while the children were getting ready for the trip. I apologized to Mark for blaming everything on him and promised to call the next evening. I decided to have a snack, although I was not hungry. The dining room was crowded, but the hostess said I could eat at the bar if I wanted. So I took a seat at the end of the long counter and ordered a grilled chicken salad and white wine. As I ate, the bar began to fill with new arrivals. About halfway through my salad, someone's face leaned across the counter next to me and asked, "Amy?" It took half a second to realize that the person was addressing me. I turned to face him and nearly choked on my last sip of wine. John. Oh my God. I turned my chair towards him and he leaned over and hugged me. I wasn't sure if it was really you, but I had to make sure. Oh my God, Amy. How long has it been? 12 years. 14. I think we're getting old, John. Not you. You are still as beautiful as you were when you left school. How is this possible? I slapped his hand. And you're still the same complete idiot. You always were. What are you doing here in Jacksonville? One of our subsidiaries is making a deal with Elton Manufacturing, and I have to sign it. They sent some big wig to curl my hair and make sure I sign. My mouth dropped open as I stared at my old college sweetheart. Well, the big wig's wife had to have surgery, so he sent me. I guess I'm the one who's going to twist your arms. Take a seat and I'll get started. John laughed and motioned for the bartender to order a drink as he sat down next to me. So now I know that you work at Elton. What else is going on in your life? John looked at her former lover and said, well, after we graduated from school and broke up, I was a little upset. I returned home and moved until my father threatened to kick me out. I responded to an email from a recruiter working for Elton, and they hired me. What about you? Yes, parting with you was murderous. It took me years to forgive my father for sending me to Europe to work in his Paris office. I stayed there for 4 years. When I returned, I asked around about you, and someone told me that you were married. On the one hand, I was happy for you. On the other hand, it kind of broke my heart. I stared at his handsome face for a moment and placed my hand on his cheek. John, I never stopped thinking about you. You were my first true love, and I think you will always have a special place in my heart. He leaned down and kissed me lightly on the lips, and then took a deep breath. I dreamed of finding you and starting our lives over again, but shit happens, and now you're married to some lucky guy. Any children? Yes, 2, a 9-year-old boy and a 7-year-old girl. Mark and I have been married for 11 years. I don't see a wedding ring. Are you married? It was a mistake. It was a mistake. When I came back and found out that you got married, I kinda went crazy. I was dating a bunch of girls at the same time. I ended up marrying one of them because she said she was 2 months pregnant. A month after the wedding, she admitted that she had never been pregnant, and we broke up. In the end, I got the marriage annulled and never remarried. I stood up and hugged him. John, I'm so sorry. This is just terrible. I'm sorry you had to go through this. I hugged him, kissed him on the cheek, and sat down again. He was silent for a moment, then asked, so, are you here alone? Yes, until Monday, and then on Tuesday, I'm gonna see Island to meet Mark and the kids. What about you? My secretary went with me, but she has an aunt here in the city, so she will stay with her. I'm booked here until Tuesday morning. Well, we will have it tomorrow evening. I think it's just some kind of meeting with cocktails and appetizers. Then we have brunch before the big WTA tennis match at the country club on Sunday. Yes, it seemed a little unnecessary to me, but Mary is a big fan of Emma Raducanu and is looking forward to the match. I wanted to let her take her aunt, but Mary was afraid that this would offend our host. Your event host works for me, so I might as well smooth this out for you, I said with a laugh. John downed the rest of his drink. Hey, they have dances in the ballroom on Friday nights. I know you used to love dancing. Would you like to try it? I paused just for a second. It would have been just dancing with an old friend. No big deal. There's nothing wrong with just dancing with John. Yes, it sounds great. Where are we going? The ballroom was small and the crowd sparse, so we had plenty of room to move around. I didn't remember John being such an experienced dancer, so I told him so. Oh, in Paris I worked with an elderly lady whose husband had a stroke and could no longer dance. She asked me to support her. I wasn't a worthy substitute, so she taught me how to dance. Well, she was a great teacher, and you're pretty good now. As he circled me around the room, I found myself becoming more and more comfortable in his arms. When the music slowed down, he pulled me closer, and I laid my head on his chest. In my mind, the years flew by, and I was back at school, dancing with the man I planned to marry. As we moved together, I felt his hardness as he pressed himself against me, immersed. In the music, I didn't react for a few seconds. Then the fog of memory cleared, and I pulled away from him a little. I'm sorry, Amy. Hugging you like this brought back many pleasant memories. It feels so good to hold you in my arms. I just can't fight the attraction I feel for you. Oh, John, I see. I was caught up in the moment, and I really appreciate you hugging me. But I'm married, and I love my husband and my family. John moved away from me a little. I certainly understand. Mark is a happy person. I had my chance, but it slipped away. Sorry, maybe we should call it a night. We gathered our things and headed to the elevators. When we walked in, John asked what floor we were on. On the 8th, please. Not bad for coincidences. I'm also an 8th. We stopped in front of my room and John grinned and then showed me his room card. "I'm next door." We both laughed and shook our heads. John put his finger under my chin and lifted my face. I knew what he was going to do, but I let him lean in and kiss me. It was a short kiss, but it was a kiss of love. I pulled away, turned around, inserted my card into the door, and pushed it. "Good night, John," I said, closing the door. The next morning, coming out of the shower, I noticed this, a door in the wall. The wall between my room and John's room. Oh my God, we have adjoining rooms. What are the chances of this happening? I quickly got dressed and decided that I would go down to have breakfast. I left my room and looked at the end of the corridor, somewhere expecting to see John coming. Out of his room, I found an empty table and was soon enjoying my second cup of coffee. "Is it okay if I join you?" I smiled at John. He seemed unsure of himself, as if he thought I might be angry with him. "Of course. Please sit down, Amy. I'm sorry if I became annoying. Please don't hesitate to tell me to get lost if I'm being too intrusive." I giggled. Damn it, I actually giggled. "Don't be stupid. What do you have planned this afternoon?" He smiled warmly. "Well, I was thinking about going to the beach, but I think I'll just sit by the pool and read." "What's on your agenda?" "Great minds think alike. See you." As I sorted through my clothes, I winced, remembering that I had only brought the shortest bikini with me. I figured I could start tanning before joining Mark. I also assumed that I would be among strangers whom I would never see again. "Wow, you look fantastic in that bikini," John said, as I shed my ghillie suit. I blushed, but I couldn't help but be pleased with John's reaction. I grabbed some lotion and started applying it to my arms and legs. John watched me carefully. "Do you want me to anoint your back?" John stood up and took the lotion from my hands. I ran my hand under my hair and pulled it away from my neck. John quickly worked over my neck and shoulders. He rubbed lotion into my back and under the strings of my top. He worked on my thighs and buttocks. With strong hands, he rubbed the lotion dry. We spent a pleasant day sunbathing and swimming in the pool. We had lunch at the poolside cafe and enjoyed a cocktail. Towards evening, we headed back to our rooms. Approaching my door, we stopped. "Thank you for a wonderful day, John." He leaned over and kissed me. His hand slid into my hair as he pulled my face towards his. His tongue parted my lips and invaded my mouth. I moaned and pressed my whole body against him. I reluctantly ran my hand over his chest and pushed him away. "Sorry, John, I shouldn't have done that. I have to come in." He stepped back, giving me the opportunity to insert the card, push open my door, and rush inside. It took me a few minutes to get my heart rate down. I called Mark and Sherry answered the phone. He went downstairs to get more ice. "Are you incredibly bored there?" "We're having a great time. Mark is so cute that I may not give him back to you." "What?" "Oh, yes, I'm glad you're having a good time. I need to shower and get ready for the event here. A kiss from me to Mark and the children." "Oh, with pleasure. Bye, little sister." I was just packing my purse when I heard a knock on the adjacent door. I pulled back the latch and opened the door. John came into my room and asked if I was ready to go. I looked at the door, looked at John, took my purse, and we left. The icebreaker was busy, and I made sure to shake every hand that was extended to me. Besides, I had a little too much to drink and didn't eat enough. When John picked me up and we headed out, I felt pretty relaxed. When we got to my door, I inserted my card into the lock and pushed my door open. I turned and bid John good night before letting the door close. I undressed and headed to the shower. The warm water perfectly relaxed my tired body. I dried myself off, put on my nightgown, and headed to the waiting bed. I collapsed on the bed and immediately fell asleep. I woke up briefly and felt Mark's arm over my side and his hands squeezing my breast. I pressed my back against his chest and feel his soft friend pressing against my buttock. I sighed contentedly. He and I slept like this almost every night. I always felt safe and loved it when he hugged me like that. Very slowly, like dawn breaking, I became aware of my surroundings. Panic began to overtake me when I remembered that I was not in my home bed. My body tensed as I tried to plan my escape. Easy, baby, it's me. I came over to offer you a cup of coffee for the night and found that you were fast too. Sleep. You look so peaceful that I just had to join you. I turned around. John, you scared the hell out of me. How did you get here? He pointed to the adjacent door. Exactly the same as before. I lay there, willing my heart to slow down. My fear triggered a surge of adrenaline, and I was almost out of breath. I turned my head towards him. He smiled and reached out to stroke my face. God, you are so beautiful. I remember when we slept together, I would sometimes lie awake for hours and just watch. You sleep. I studied every feature on your face so that, closing my eyes, I could always see you. His eyes told me that he meant every word he said. I sighed. John, I'm married. I can't be here with you like this. Please, John, if you love me, you must respect my marriage. His eyes studied my face for several moments. I really love you. I will never stop loving you. Amy, just let me hold you today. I promise I won't continue like this. Please, baby, let me hold you and pretend we're back together. I knew it was wrong. I knew I should have made him leave, but I wanted him to wrap his arms around me, hold me in his big, strong arms, and hold me tight. I turned to him and kissed his forehead and then looked into his pleading eyes. John, I love you too. I love being here with you like this, but we can't let this continue. I want you to hug me. I want to feel your arms around me. It's wrong and not what a married woman should do, but I need to be there for you, just for this one time, for this crazy weekend. Can I trust you? He gave me his boyish smile and kissed the top of my head. He put his hand under my neck as I turned my back to him and pressed myself against him. His other arm wrapped around me, and I pulled his hand to my chest. He whispered into the back of my head, Amy, my love, I could never do anything to hurt you. Thank you for letting me stay. You are completely safe with me. John was true to his word, and I had a surprisingly restful sleep. When I woke up, I was pressed against him. I heard his even breathing and smiled, recognizing his sweet, quiet snoring. In his arms, I felt warm and safe. I pressed myself against him, which made me move my butt back. As soon as I did this, I felt his hard friend poking into me. I'm not sure what made me do this. Maybe it was the old familiarity. Maybe it was the warm, fuzzy feeling of being in his arms. Or maybe it was because I was horny as hell, but I reached down. All my further actions provoked him to respond. Our sex was both gentle and hard, and we reached the peak. Wave after wave of pleasure washed over me. John hugged me tightly. Thank you, baby. I dreamed of having you again. And now you have made my dream come true. We must have fallen asleep because it was almost noon when I felt John get out of bed. Hey, sleepyhead, we need to get dressed and go to the club. The match was exciting to watch, and the club was impressively beautiful. After lunch, we wandered around the grounds and then headed back to the hotel. We had a light dinner and then went to our rooms. John came in through the adjoining door and joined me in my bed. I knew what would happen next, but we needed to talk. John, you know that I have deep feelings for you, but I love my husband and my family. What we have here is just a temporary phenomenon. Two old lovers reunited for a short time. I hope you understand and feel the same. Don't worry, I know you would never leave Mark. Amy, I can't deny that I would love to have you as my wife and be with you 100% of the time. But I know that's impossible. I think tomorrow I will insist on an annual review of our deal before I sign it. If you agree to this, we can meet here every year to renew the contract and repeat our relationship. Every year. So if I agree, we'll keep our distance and only meet here once a year, like an anniversary. Or something. This is not what I want, but anything more is dangerous, and I am afraid that you will be discovered. I promised to never hurt you. I don't want to ruin your marriage. I agreed, and we made love until the early morning. It's like we've always been together. I freely gave him my body, and he took everything he wanted. The meeting on Monday went quickly, and all the papers were signed. We had lunch, and I returned to my room. John came over and asked me to kiss him goodbye. We kissed deeply, and I held back tears as he left my room. Mark. The few days at the resort without Amy went better than I imagined. In the past, Sherry has always acted a little bitchy towards me, but not this weekend. I had a good time with her while we entertained the children. She looked great in a swimsuit, and I found myself fantasizing about her. Damn, I felt horny. We spent the entire day at the beach on Sunday, so by evening the kids were exhausted and quickly fell asleep in Sherry's room. We settled the kids in 2 beds and then decided to watch a movie in my room. I opened the bag of popcorn to share it, so she and I ended up on the same bed in my room. We drank some wine and watched a stupid horror movie that Sherry chose. As the movie became more intense, Sherry pressed herself closer to me. I hugged her protectively, and she hugged me. I felt her trembling and pulled her close to me. I looked lower and could see a fair amount of cleavage. Every scary scene made her jump, and soon her dress rode up. I lost interest in a stupid movie when I stared at my slender sister-in-law. My baggy gym shorts did little to hide my arousal. I had just begun to lift my left knee to try to hide the protruding tint of my shorts when a dramatic event occurred in the film. Sherry squealed, buried her face in my neck, and grabbed my upper body. I reacted by placing my hand on her back and hugging her tightly. My protective embrace pulled her close to my body. She grabbed me and whimpered. I patted her, and she slowly loosened her grip but kept her hand on my chest. She tilted her head back a few inches and looked up at me. I smiled at her, and she lowered her eyes. Sorry, it scared me. I'm sorry I grabbed you like that. No problem, I said, squeezing her lightly and smiling. She turned her face to watch the movie, but did not move away from my body. I pressed lightly to continue hugging her. I tried to stay as quiet as possible, but she pressed closer to me. Very slowly, I began to make tiny circles on her back. She responded by gently stroking my thigh. It was so gentle that I wasn't sure if she even realized she was doing it when she looked at the screen. As the film's credits rolled, Sherry turned her face to look at me. I pulled her close to me, leaned over, and kissed her tenderly on the lips. She pressed herself against my chest and kissed me back deeply. My hand slid down my back. Oh my God, Mark, I want you so much that I'm ready to scream. It was rough sex, not love, just pure lust. When we both reached our peak, I tried to put some of my body weight on her while we kissed, but I just collapsed and rolled us onto our sides. Breathing heavily, I brushed a strand of her disheveled hair from her face. Sherry's eyes slowly opened, and she smiled widely at me. It was everything I hoped for. I've wanted you for so long. Mark, I'm sorry, I just couldn't stop. Me too. This is so wrong. You are my wife's sister. God, Sherry, I'm so sorry. She raised her finger to my lips. It's okay, we both just got carried away. It happened. Now we'll just have to live with it. We can't undo what we've done. It just has to remain our secret. I nodded in agreement. What else could I do? We cleaned ourselves up and opened the door connecting the rooms. The next morning, the children found us sleeping in separate beds. Now, Mommy, the children screamed when I entered our room. I hugged my children and fought the guilt I felt as I leaned in to kiss my husband. I hugged him tightly and whispered in his ear, I love you. I love you too. I'm glad you're here. We missed you. I felt another wave of guilt wash over me. I fought back my tears and put on a happy face as I turned to the children. Let me get changed, and then maybe you guys can show me how to find the beach. Chaos broke out among the kids, and Sherry said, Go put on your suit and we'll organize this gang. The rest of the holiday went well. I made love to Mark several times, and my guilt lurked as I renewed my devotion to my wonderful husband, Mark. When Amy first joined us, she seemed a little out of it. I was worried that I had somehow warned her about what I had done to Sherry, but everything worked out and the week went well. With the exception of a few brief touches, I managed to stay away from Sherry until the afternoon before our departure. We were all at the beach, and Amy asked me to go get some fast food. She didn't want to leave and wanted the children to continue playing. Sherry volunteered to come with me, and we went back to our rooms to get my wallet and keys. As soon as we entered the room, she began to remove her cover. Faster. Take off your clothes. We can't wait too long. I couldn't resist. Everything happened quickly and hard just as she asked, and Sherry exclaimed, "Damn cool again." Damn you. Why did you do that? Now I really feel guilty. I whined. Sherry laughed. Don't worry, stud. This will be our last time for a while. Now get yourself cleaned up and let's go eat. Now, a week after returning from the beach, Sherry was with us and Mark went golfing with friends. Sherry had been there for about an hour when she suddenly said, "Okay, tell me what the hell is bothering you?" I was amazed. I tried to kick away, but she continued to look at me. I sighed. That weekend in Jacksonville, John was there representing another company. John? She looked at me intently. John Hardy, your ex-boyfriend? Yes, John Hardy. God, how? What? I mean, is he married now? Did you spend time together? Divorced, and yes, I spent a lot of time with him, I said, studying the floor. Sherry studied my face. Oh my God. Amy, you had sex. Oh my God. Speak quietly. I warned her. It wasn't planned. Neither of us knew the other would be there. It happened. We spent the whole weekend together on everything. I tried to keep him away, but, damn it. I still have feelings for him. Tears began to flow. Sherry hugged me. It's okay. It's okay. You'll get through this. It was just one time, and you'll probably never see it again. I looked at the floor and didn't say anything. I couldn't look at her. Amy? What's happened? Tell me what you did. He spent 2 nights in my bed. We made love at least 5 times, and what? What's happened? We, he, we put it in the contract. We have to renew the contract every year in Jacksonville. He and I. We will be together every year for one more weekend. I know it's so wrong. It's deception. But I wanted it. I agreed to it. Wow. Damn it, Amy. It's one thing to let a strange situation slip away from you, but quite another to plan your annual get-together. I know. It's not fair to Mark, but I want Sherry. I think if it's only scheduled for one weekend a year, we can stay away from each other the rest of the time. My tears began to flow and Sherry hugged me. She seemed to be deep in thought. I dabbed my eyes and tried to pull myself together. Do you really think you can limit yourself to meeting John once a year? I must. It's too much of a risk to try to see him more often. I just can't let Mark find out about this. Don't worry, sis. I'll definitely come up with something to keep Mark busy this weekend. Will you do this for me? Of course, I'll make sure he doesn't have a moment's rest, because it's only one weekend a year. Sherry hid her evil grin. Hey, maybe you should consider making this a semi-annual update. I smiled at her. My big sister, always looking out for me. Sherry. As I drove home, I was amazed by all the events that had led me to this moment. That horned dog Mark asked me to join them for the holidays so he could transfer the kids to me while he enjoyed Amy. And then Amy gets dragged away from their vacation only to be dumped with John for the weekend. Likewise, the kids sleep in my bed, so I end up watching a movie with Mark in his bed, which leads to our first time having sex. Then my sister sends the two of us to our room, and I have it again. Now once a year, she gives it to me for the whole weekend so she can go play with John. Damn, my lucky break. While Amy is having the weekend thinking about how much fun Mark and I will have is getting me excited. In fact, I'm pretty sure Amy will understand what I'm doing with Mark. But what can she say? As long as she's sleeping with John, she can't complain about Mark sleeping with me. If Mark somehow ever finds out that Amy is cheating, he won't be able to do anything about it because he's cheating too. I suppose I could spill the beans and put it all out in the open. But what fun would that be? Subscribe to our channel so that your second shaft doesn't cheat on you, and go ahead and listen to the next story, because this story is nothing compared to the next one. If you're under 18, don't even think about listening to the next one.